Time will go on, and the more we can support live music. I'm a venue, I'm not a stage performer. I'm an entertainer in the entertainment business, owning and operating restaurants for the last 20 years. We pay for the music, but the customers pay for it because they come spend money at our businesses, right? So we need people to continue doing that for sure, and do it more.
Yeah, and adding to both what they're saying is that I also feel that what is happening and what we see happening now is that when you have things like Cool Out isn't just about the music, and I think a lot of people don't understand what else goes behind the scene. What goes behind the scene is that they have a lot of music conference. They're teaching people about the business side of music, meaning royalties and copyrights and all of that kind of stuff, and marketing and promoting yourself as an artist. When those things are happening, then the artists themselves start to see themselves in a different light, in a more professional manner. Like, oh wow, this could really be an industry for me, not just a little side thing that I'm doing.
Yep.
And when those artists get to that point and they're starting to see that they can be something better, they become better, right?
Yeah.
And when they become better, that's better for the venue, that's better for everything. So this push have to continue, and we're seeing it over the last couple of years. There's a lot of artists that got their own pages and they do their own thing and they're out promoting themselves. So people are seeing them now, and as we do that, we have to continue to do that more. Events like Cool Out's got to continue so that these people are being seen, and at that point, people look, oh yeah, I can do that. I mean, there's a saying, they say you're never king in your own town until you go someplace and make it big and come back and all that kind of
right?
stuff.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Is that what it's going to take? It's going to take someone to go overseas, make it big, come back.
That'll help.
Tougher, right?
That'll help, but I still do believe that on the ground there's still a lot. I mean, like I said, I've been around soca and calypso and Caribbean music all of my life, right? And if you go to Eastern Caribbean right now, you go to U.S. Virgin Islands, you go to Dominica, you go to Grenada, they have a thriving music industry that you don't know nothing about and nobody know anything about, and they are making serious money. I was in a juve behind a truck and U.S. Virgin Island, behind a truck for 3 hours. I had paint all over my face, and it was madness. And the young people that were there, they were jamming, and I was behind it for 3 hours, and I did not know one song. That was, and that's the truth. It was their song. That's what that was their industry, and it was kicking. When I say kicking, I never moved from behind that truck because they were going down the whole thing. So that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
That's the kind of support that we need to get. And need to understand that all that stuff needs to start right here. We could do that right here.
All right, let's pause right there. We have to go commercial break. When we come back, we'll pick back there and then talk about the future of Cool Out. Back with more talk today right after this.
You definitely started to segue into the conference side, which is also something that we should.
Back more talk today right after this short commercial break.
Yeah.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Prescription refills made easy at Savannah Pharmacy. WhatsApp your prescription refills to 929-5045. Start your day in the know. Don't miss a beat. Radio Cayman's 7 a.m. news keeps you informed every Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Brought to you by Cayman National, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Again, pleased to have in studio part of the Cool Out team from last week, Mr. James, Mr. JR, and Mr. Brent. Gentlemen, before the break, we were talking a bit about what happened last week and just the industry overall for music. But James, you had a point you wanted to make in regards to the enhancement of our live music product.
Sure, definitely. And to echo the sentiments of these gentlemen here, I think one of the big things to notice is that, JR did say, yes, you can come around and see on a live music calendar, which we do produce every week, where I come and play. But just keeping in mind for my professional development as an artist, and I think this is something that all local artists need to learn when it comes to diversification and their own professional development, is the set that you come to see me play at a restaurant is different than the set you come to see me play at a festival. So when my name shows up on a festival, I have people reaching out to me, hitting me up, saying, in anticipation, like,
sure, because
they're thinking, if this is what you sound like, maybe just playing a guitar at a restaurant, or some tracks, and you have this kind of energy, what's it going to be at a festival on a bigger stage? And I think that's how we start to create more of support in that industry. You have things that you need to do with the restaurants, definitely, and they do pay for the live music. So coming out to support that way will work. But when it comes to the festivals, from an artist standpoint, obviously we just need to make sure that we're at that level where we can diversify when the time comes, so people will spend their money. And I'll be glad to say, Capella was just like what's the one that happens at the Hartwell every year? The big show.
There's a few. Talent Expo of the Arts happens there. That's for all the youth events.
The one that's sort of outside.
Red Sky.
Red Sky,
right?
Right?
And they've done a good job of making sure local artists and young talent get on that stage.
Yes, agreed. So I've played the Red Sky at nights, and it's a completely different vibe.
It is.
It's like I'm dancing, I'm getting around. If I'm at a restaurant, I'm sitting down. I'm still entertaining,
sure,
but you get to see a full band element.
Performance.
You get to see like how crazy I get when I'm, really getting into it. And I think that those are really important elements.
And that's something that, the Cool Out Music Conference, touches on and will grow and continue to touch on with the whole business side of it. Mm-hmm. There's a full day of guest speakers from all around the world, as far as Seoul, South Korea, you know, from Amsterdam, from New York, from Miami, you know, lawyers, producers, all the people from the music industry were here last week, you know, giving talks and having workshops, you know, to help grow our music industry locally, and for the international people came in just to listen to them talk, you know, and soon, I can only imagine, and we should plan for locals to be talking at those conferences, you know, to spread your knowledge onto the young performers, because I have owned bars, once again, for a long time. I never even contemplated the fact that, you know, the performance when I see you play at my restaurant, you know, during happy hour is so different than what happens at a concert. So when you listeners out there see someone's name on a lineup that you saw at a restaurant last night, and you can go early to see them perform, you should expect it's going to be a completely, you know, blown up performance compared to what you saw at the Westin when you had friends on Island. That's something to really look forward to, actually, in the next year, because I've never looked at it like that.
I love that. It's great perspective, actually. Way to look at how they're going, because I remember seeing at Black Eyed Peas the opening acts for the performers, and you're right, it was a whole different energy, and it was live stage, big energy, right?
Yeah.
But only a few minutes left in this segment. Let's turn the attention to Cool Out 2025. I know there's some plans in the works right now for next year. You mentioned the monthly jam sessions, which I think is great. I would love to see more of these jam sessions, especially ones that cater to younger. Because that's what I advise to look at my son to get involved more in live music, right?
So there's a bunch of jam nights around the island right now, different nights of the week, different places, and they're late. They're always late. You know, I can't even stay up that late anymore. So through Cool Out, through the guys at this table, through the girls and guys out there in the industry, we want to create our own road to Cool Out, doing jam nights around the island, happy hour, lunchtime, you know, Saturday afternoons, when we can attract kids and families, when we can attract, you know, the new and upcoming entertainers of the island, because there's a place out there for the people that are established and playing everywhere, but we want Cool Out to also, you know, encourage the newcomers, the young generation of music, and help build them up. And there is a lot, like you said, the talent that was on my stage on Saturday.
He's got a huge talent pool. He has a camp he does every year. And like songwriting camp.
Totally agree. Because if you really, I love what JJ is doing, because the bottom line is, up until possibly the last 5 or 6 years, we old musicians like me was saying the same thing. When we're gone, where's everybody? Where's all of the new musicians and the new sound writers and all that kind of stuff? Because it needs to be passed on. So when you have people like JJ doing what he's doing, it's absolutely incredible. He's also part of the Cool Out movement, and that's why he's here. So we're trying to drag in these people, and James is saying, you know, everything that James is saying, everything that JR is saying, is the fact is that that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get those younger people and get those younger people excited about this industry. The reality of it is, look at James. James makes a living off of this, you know. I have to go do regular work and then go play music after work. But I'm saying James makes a living off of this. So if James can make a living off of this, why can't all of them make a living off of this? All of you kids, there's an industry here. And I speak again. Government, help us. Sponsors, help us. We got young people that want to come into this industry. Let's do it, you know.
I know we want to go to, but on that note, like, I know a young boy, he's just turned 13.
Yeah.
It's a good friend of my son's. He makes his own music on his phone.
Right.
He's been monetized for 2 years now.
Wow.
He started monetized at 11 years old, where he started making money for beats he was creating.
Yes, I know.
Phone.
Yeah.
That is the level where the potential's there.
Yeah.
The talent
there,
now,
the potential's there, the cultivation's there. And if you're 11 years old, you can figure out how to start making money. The reality is.
Yep. I know somebody else too. I know, like an older guy. I think he's in his 30s and stuff too.
Yeah.
He have done beats for people all over the world, and the same guy I was talking about that got a studio.
Yeah.
He's made some serious money by doing beats. His name's not on them. He's ghostwriting and all kind of stuff. Because that's another thing that you could do. He's ghostwriting, and name never showed up in there, and he's got a contract that he signed that said, listen, like, you can't give out your name, but so what? He's making money. You're making money. He's getting paid.
Throwing out there, Yui here in Cayman was doing a free music production course.
Yeah.
Completely free for any Cayman students that wanted to sign up for it.
Yep.
Well, I think that's the next part for me is, you know, I do make a living from this musically. And the funny story is I had a 17-year-old as my assistant at my stage, and she actually performed for the first time. Her name is Daniela Rose, and I got introduced to her from her teacher from St. Ignatius, saying, "Hey, can you give her any experience?" And she never thought that you could pursue music full time. So the awareness around this is big, and so now I'm keen now to get a mentorship program going for young musicians, because I have the ability to provide a platform for them to showcase, because I play gigs all the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so that's kind of where I'm moving at now, and then looking to do partnerships with Cool Out to get that kind of stuff going.
So you had an assistant on your stage, calling out for an assistant for next year. And I do need to shout out Dan Ebanks, because he helped me with some of the sound engineering at my bar that night. But also some of our big sponsors, guys, once again, Cayman Enterprise City, Signal House, they were a huge part of it. We couldn't done it without them. Enterprise Cayman as well. And there's a lot more people that I can't get. We don't have the time to list off, but in the future we definitely need some more sponsors. So,
but you've also set the dates already for next year.
Yes.
Well, those have been set. What are those dates?
That's November 6th, 7th, and 8th, 2025. Cool Out.
Nice. And then, is there anything else going on for this year still for Cool Out? I think I saw mention of a December 4th luncheon for...
There is a luncheon coming up. You guys got to check out the page. There's amazing guests at that luncheon. It's part of like the fundraising side of Cool Out. So jump on the Cool Out page on our social and check it all out.
And what is the website for Cool Out again?
Cooloutcayman.com.
Got it. I think it was... I remember there was a dash in there somewhere.
Yeah. I'm gonna double check it out. I think.
I got it.
Yeah, you got
Cool-out.com.
Yes. All right. Cool.
That's awesome. And that was so Steve Aoki at the Fireside Chat with Iggy Pop. That's the luncheon on December 4th.
Yeah, the Fireside Chat. That is going to be super cool. Iggy Pop and Steve Aoki. For those of you that missed Steve Aoki last year, it's coming back this year to give a talk and have a lunch. It's going to be some really interesting stuff.
That's awesome. So Cool Out 2025 next year November 6th to the 9th. For information, cool-out.com. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate it. I appreciate what Cool Out is doing for this community. I really, truly do. As a father of a musician, I appreciate it. But as someone who loves music myself, I think what you guys are doing are fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right. On that note, let's go to our 1 p.m. headline news. When we come back, we'll be sitting down with Dorman Day discussing boarding school. Back with more talk today, right after this.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With a look at your latest headlines, I'm Jevi Ebanks. Ignacia Pereiro pleaded guilty to killing her friend, Eleni Villegas, in a car crash on the 8th of August 2022. The incident occurred at 3:40 a.m. on Eastern Avenue near the Shedden Road Junction, where Piero's white Honda Accord crashed into a wall. No other car was involved. Piero denied causing death by dangerous driving, but admitted to careless driving. The case has been adjourned until later this month for her defense attorney and the Crown to agree on a basis of plea ahead of sentencing. In regional news, a Brazilian man involved in a shooting at the Ampuma area of French Guiana, which left at least one person dead, has been handed over to the French authorities following their request for his deportation. The suspect, residing illegally, reported the incident at the Richelieu police station on the 15th of November while seriously injured. During interrogation, police found his statement inconsistent and linked him to a shooting between two rival Brazilian gangs. The incident resulted in at least one death. In Guyana, police are investigating the alleged murder of Thagwante Moti, a 28-year-old woman from East Coast Demiria, who died after being chopped on the neck and arm on the 14th of November. Moti was admitted to the hospital and died 2 days later. The suspect, Uram Durbasa, also known as Anil, a 26-year-old laborer, died by suicide after the attack. Police reports indicate that the suspect and victim had an argument in the victim's yard on the 13th of November, leading to the attack. Durbasa used a cutlass to chop Moti twice before drinking a poisonous substance. Both were admitted to the hospital where they later died. That is your latest headlines. I'm Jevi Ebanks.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Reading Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Linton Nathaniel Tibbetts, 1923 to 2011. Linton Tibbetts was known throughout the Cayman Islands not only as a successful businessman, but as one who showed great interest in his homeland and invested time, money, and influence to help the welfare of his beloved sister islands. In the late 1960s, he organized the first annual Cayman Picnic, still held each July in the Tampa-St. Petersburg area, to bring together the many Caymanians living in the United States and encourage them to remember their roots. In 1972, Mr. Linton and several other successful Brackers started an air service between Florida and Cayman Brac to bolster the Sister Islands' embryonic tourism industry. The air service was later expanded to serve all three islands with a fleet of 7 planes. He built hotels and museums on both sister islands and was involved in establishing Cayman Brac Power and Light Company. Although his career was primarily devoted to operating his chain of building supply stores in Florida, he always visited the islands frequently and maintained close ties with his family and friends in Cayman. Mr. Linton and his wife Pauline, Miss Polly nee Inix, had 4 children.
Reading Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Now pleased to have in studio Miss Amanda from Dormanday, no stranger to Talk Today, and Mr. Lawrence Sampleton, correct?
Correct.
Welcome to Talk Today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about boarding school.
Yes, always.
always. But, Mr. Lawrence, if you don't mind, you have a background in sports.
I do.
And we have a lot of listeners that do act. We have a very large football fan base here in Cayman. The Dolphins have a strong foothold here in Cayman, but we have a strong NFL presence here in Cayman. It's just, we love it.
Yeah.
Like everyone else, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you played in the show for a while.
Yeah, I did. I was drafted in 1982 by the Philadelphia Eagles, and I was the first tight end picked in that draft. I was a second round draft pick. Interesting story. San Francisco called me in the first round and said they were going to draft me, and ended up making a deal with the New England Patriots and traded Russ Francis, who was an all-pro tight end at the time, which dropped me to the second round. And I always tell people the timing was horrible because that was the beginning of the San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl run, and I missed it. Yeah, I don't have a Super Bowl ring. Huh?
You don't have the big one.
No, I don't have the big one.
It's an interesting one because we talk a lot about student athletes.
Yeah.
in numerous contexts, but you having been a student athlete.
Yes.
And a big part of this shows me about the education side, but
Absolutely.
as a student athlete, we have a lot of parents and grandparents listening right now. If you could sum up their student athlete experience and what it took to get to that point,
yes,
what would you say to a young 17, 18-year-old kid now?
Yes. So time management is one of the biggest things associated with being a student athlete. When I was at the University of Texas, our schedules were tight. Our classes were scheduled in the morning. We had to wrap up our classes by 12 noon. Meetings started around 1:30, 2 o'clock. Practice started at 4 o'clock. And you finish practice at 6, you go to dinner, and then you have to study and prepare for class the next day. So there wasn't a lot of space in the day to actually do things that weren't associated with school or sports, because you have to keep your bodies right, you got to eat right. One of the things I tell parents is, don't take it too seriously early on. Let a lot of it come from the students. So for me, it comes from the inside. You can tell when it's coming from the inside. You can't force it.
Sure.
And for me, it came from the inside. I was born with it. And so when you're born with it and you want to do it, you're committed to doing the things you want to do, and it's not being forced on you from the outside. So that's my advice, is let it come from the inside.
That's actually very powerful advice. I love that.
And I would say the same as actually in the whole boarding school path. I always say to the parents, we don't send the kids to boarding school anymore. We want them to lead the charge. And especially teenagers. Obviously, they're a little bit younger, going for junior boarding or something, it's a bit different. But certainly for the grades 9 to 12 boarding schools, where we want the teenager to be very involved in the process. And to actually lead it. If they can't be bothered to do their applications and can't be bothered to prepare for interviews and things like that, then do their essays, then we feel it's going to be very difficult to have a successful path, and that they will get the school right, we'll get the right school, and it'll be a good fit and a path to success. So again, the same as the sports, it's from within. The student needs to be the driving force, not the parent.
So when it comes to boarding school, slightly different when you talk about the student athlete going up to college at 17, 18. They have a little more clearer direction, a little more focused in what they want to do. At 13, 14, 15, what are some of the encouragement words you would say to parents to help them with their kids to get motivated, I guess, to do that essay, to do that application form? I can't imagine my son in 2 years saying, okay, let me fill out this essay here. He's going to go, what's this?
I have a couple of things that I say. One of the things that I tell parents and students, in order for you to be sitting here talking to me today, there was a compelling reason for you to consider it. That's where it begins. So right now in your family, there's not a compelling reason to consider it. But if you saw something, or if your son or daughter saw something that they wanted to pursue, and it could be just, I want to go to school in the U.S. and I want to go now. And then when you have a compelling reason to consider it, then you look at the options. And the options are vast. You know, there's options in Europe, there's options in the U.S., there's options in Canada, there's options all over the world. So once you sort of narrow that down, you begin to think about things like, you know, how easy is it for us to get to this place or that place? What's the weather like? What are the people like? Because different parts of the world, it's different cultures. Where boarding schools sit. Do I want to have a remote boarding experience with 100% boarding? Do I want to have a more suburban boarding experience where I'm really close to a dynamic city and easy access to things on the weekend? So there's all these things you consider. And then the other thing that I begin to look at when I'm talking to parents and students is that, are you academically motivated? Because most of these schools are going to have strong academic programs. Are you academically motivated? Are you a self-advocate? Will you advocate for yourself? In 14, there's some that will advocate for themselves really strongly. What are your interests outside of the classroom? That's a big one, especially for international students. We did some research at my school. The international students who were most successful over a 10-year time period, you can just look at it. They all had clubs. They all had fine arts, athletics. They all had things that they were interested in doing outside of the classroom. That's a big motivator. And a lot of these schools, I was talking to Amanda earlier, and she was asking me about our swim program, because the kids want to go away to boarding school, but they're interested in a really strong swim program. They're asking me about American football. Of course, they think when you come to Texas, where my school is located, there's American football. But realistically, we play six-man football, small private school football. But it's those type things that actually motivate families and begin to clear the path for them to consider their 14, 15, 16-year-old actually going away. And visiting campuses, I always look at my job as, when I first talk to someone, if I was talking to you about your son, your anxiety would be through the roof. And my job is to bring your anxiety down.
Absolutely.
And how do you do that? You introduce them to the people who are going to be working with them. You see the area where they're going to be going to school. You come on campus, you visit. Those type things bring your anxiety down and move you to a position where you can actually make a decision.
I love that. You know, I'm glad you brought up the extracurriculars. I had this conversation with my son in school the other day, and in some of the absence of extracurriculars that were there, and the comment I had made, and it wasn't meant to be overly harsh, although it did come across that way, was in the academic world, and to be very frank, in this day and age, you can learn anything you want from YouTube. I can go into YouTube in any of the classes, for any subject. I can go into YouTube and I can find an academic course in some capacity on YouTube. But those extracurriculars, those, whether it's the swimming program, whether it's the art programs, the music programs, those programs, you're not going to get that experience.
Right.
From. Right. You can find a tutor online to teach you math. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But a tutor for a guitar online is not the same as actually having a robust band that you can join with a program, or stepping in with a coach or a football team that knows how to lift you up.
Right.
Right. And make you feel part of a team. That you can't get online.
Yeah.
So when I look at the schools and what schools can offer, it's that. Those are the things that I'm looking for to, you know, complement that experience.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you've actually touched upon that.
Yeah, I think the opportunities are that are outside of Cayman. In Cayman, we're very lucky. We have very good schools. We have great sports, but there are more. Some kids need more opportunities.
Absolutely.
Some need to have a more competitive program, perhaps. I mean, but we are very blessed here with what we have. But you just sometimes need a bit more and the exposure to a wider program. And obviously, not every sport we can do here, and not every. Production, or we do some really good theatre productions here too, but there are performing arts and other arts that are really high level in some of the boarding schools. So it's really a change of direction sometimes as to where you want to focus your extracurricular activities. You may have done a bit here, but you may have done something different when you go away, as well as improving your skills.
That's great. Now, what school do you actually represent, Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, I'm the associate head of school for enrollment and financial aid at St. Stephen's Episcopal School in Austin, Texas. I've been at the school 34 years. I'm the father of two graduates, one in 2010, one in 2016. So I've been working in education much longer than I played in the NFL. And that's the other thing that I like to tell parents is that after sports, there's a whole nother life. So I reached the highest level, and now I've been in a profession in academics for 34 years. Our school has 700 students, grades 6 through 12. In our high school, we have 500. In 8th through 12, we have 185 boarders from 25 countries, 15 states in the U.S., and about 22 cities from around the state of Texas. So we have a well-balanced school.
Yep.
The heart of our school is the boarding program. We've had boarding at St. Stephen's for 75 years. We're most noted for our academic program in the U.S. The colleges and universities know that graduates from St. Stephen's are prepared academically.
I'm so glad you didn't go into selling insurance after you left the NFL. So
I am too.
I think you found your calling. 34 years at school that's something you're proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of graduates that have come out of that school.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have some great Cayman students there now, and obviously, tomorrow we've got a whole slew of schools coming in from the US and Canada. I think there's even one from the UK coming to the North American Boarding School Fair tomorrow evening at the Marriott. So that's 7 till 9 at the Marriott tomorrow, Tuesday, where we've got such a wide range of schools coming. Lawrence is here today because I really respect his school. We've got some good students there, and we've met on many occasions in London, here, and in Austin as well. And so I thought he'd be a great person to bring along as a sort of representative of the schools as such. But we have probably about 45 schools coming.
For the Better Walk Fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just wanted to highlight that there are very different schools coming. As Lawrence indicated, we have schools that are very rural, some of them more city-based, but we also have different types of school coming. There's all girls schools, all boys schools. Now, often here they have no sort of understanding necessarily of the all girls, all boys situation. We don't have any schools here that are are that way. We're all co-ed in Cayman, so it's an unusual thing. But I do encourage people to look at them because they are incredible, and how they, for example, the boys, of how they know how boys are a bit fidgety and can learn in different ways and everything. So, and obviously the sports are very good. And girls, of course, it's not just like an all-girls school back in my day when I went. Today it's about empowering women, and and sometimes girls thrive in an all-girl environment, maybe if they're a little self-conscious before they want to grow their confidence, but within an all-girls situation, and then they can do the sciences, do everything, all the tech and everything that they might feel a little bit not able to do always in another environment. We've got a military school coming. Now, I also want to point out that you shouldn't be thinking you have to join the army afterwards or anything if you go to
When you say a military school, what do you mean?
Well, it's a school that's based on military traditions for boys, but basically you're going to also see great sports and a great opportunities to grow leadership and confidence as well, because obviously within those programs that there are the leadership skills that are taught and then given to lead the cadet packs and opportunities like that. So, but also again, I always say to people, don't be blinkered by thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to a military school. That sounds terrible. But actually, there are very worthy schools where the program is excellent for teaching these skills and the leadership skills, and excellent programs as well. So I think the one coming, actually, it's not a military personnel who is the principal of the school, which is quite unusual. So he's from what you might call a regular boarding school world. So that's a bit different as well.
Wow, okay. So it's right behind us a lot. Like, I kind of like the idea at times of an all-boys school. I could have done without the distraction in high school, I'm not going to lie. 16, 17 years old, your body's changing, your mind's changing, and all of a sudden half your class is, it's just one massive distraction that doesn't mix well with academics.
Right.
Learning calculus and having your body going through its changes don't mix very well. Take away distraction, and theoretically.
Yeah. So I mean, we have obviously predominantly our schools are co-ed that come in, but we do want people to consider the other options, because it's all about, which is what Dormond does, is finding the right fit for your child.
Actually, I want to touch on that in a minute, but the Betty Walker, is there registration for that tomorrow?
Yes, there is. So it's online. They can go online and do it. It's been on all the social media, so you can go onto Betty Walker's website as well.
Okay, what is that website? And if you want to register to go to it?
I think it's just bettywalker.com.
Okay.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's very easy to find. Google it. You can register. There's also on Facebook. I think you can just click the link on Facebook, so it should be very easy to do.
Okay.
Or they could register there. They could just walk in.
Can they come there register?
They can. They do prefer them to register in advance, but absolutely can register at the door.
And that's the Marriott tomorrow night, 7 o'clock.
Correct.
And, okay, fair enough. That easy enough. Now, Dormond Day. Because Dormond Day has a big role here in Cayman in helping kids get that right fit. And that's always that big one. It's got to be the right fit.
Yeah, we try very hard because it's a big thing to do. I mean, it's a big ticket item, emotionally, socially, and financially for the parents as well. So it's we want to get it right, and there's a lot of information out there. There will be at the fair as well. We get beautiful glossy brochures. The websites look absolutely fantastic, and it's quite hard. It's a lot of information for parents to navigate. So Dormond Day, we do try to help with that process, and also we try to understand what makes the kid tick for a start, and what would be not just their interest, but what their academic level is and what they could aspire to. So we again, like Lawrence says, he had a career after sports, and we always have to academics predominantly first, and also a plan B if it's a student athlete, because very quickly athletics, you could have an injury and that's that done. So we do try very hard to make sure that the options cover all the bases, and that there's some great options out there. We don't say to the kid, you must go.
Sure.
You must go. We try and get the best options on
Sure.
the table. We help them navigate the application process, as well as doing the searches, help with the searches for the schools, and then follow through. And basically, we try and liaise with the schools like Lawrence at St. Stephen's. Obviously, we develop a relationship with the admissions directors and the leaders of the schools, so that we get a really good flavour of what those schools are like. I personally tour as many schools as I can. I can't cover them all. There's so many, but so that we get I always say, so we find out what it smells like.
Fair. Well, you know, I'm trying to imagine if I could use the only analogy that came to my mind as I was listening to describe what it's like to go through this, is when my son goes to Baskin Robbins or to the ice cream store and wants to get ice cream. Like, his looking at the selection, every ice cream has that beautiful color. They're all nice. He knows they're all going to taste amazing.
Yeah.
But it's fine. He has to make that decision on picking the right, because he only gets one.
That's right.
And if he doesn't get it right, he's not going to be very happy. And if you don't get this right, this is a big decision. This is much bigger than ice cream, right? Obviously.
That's a good
but
way of putting it, though. Yeah.
But a 7-year-old kid looking at this decision, that's a decision a parent's making right now. You have to find the fit for your child that is going to fit multiple hats, right? And that's where Dormant Day really has that element of some level of hand-holding. Because I imagine you must get like a million questions over and over.
No, we try to offer a sort of, we are effectively there 24/7 if needed, but obviously we don't do that. We don't usually have to do that, but we are definitely there for hand-holding if it's needed. Some families are more hands-off, and some are in Cayman we're very close to our children and their activities, so it's a huge step for them to go overseas, just generally, and so we need to be very careful that it's not going to be too hard for all the family. You have to look at the family dynamics as well as to how it will work. Are they going to be better being a little bit closer, maybe in Florida or somewhere, or are they going to be great? They're just rocking it. They're ready to go and fly, and they want to go up to somewhere like Vermont or New Hampshire or Canada. So there's so many different places, but we do have to try and find what would work for the family unit as well as for the student.
For the student, yeah.
One of the key things I think is people like Amanda, who have actually, she's spent a lot of time researching. I mean, I drove over here in a car with her, and within a 10 to 15 minute drive, she knew about an additional 4 or 5 things about what's happening at St. Stephen's, and she does that with a lot of different schools, and it was a pleasure to have her on the campus there in Austin. What I would also say is schools with COVID, we have really become adept at doing Zoom type presentations. So you can get online a lot with schools and see personalities and find out different things. I do a lot of Zoom events, probably do 150 events during the course of the year where we get people on campus, on Zoom and all these different things. So doing stuff like that, there's organizations that families can plug into. There's one, I'm on the board of TABS, T-A-B-S, the Association of Boarding Schools. They have a website where you can go on and pull up schools and continue to do that type of research to try to, because in the end, it's the match that counts. And we don't want kids to come that we say, you know what, this kid's not a good match. We don't really want that for the families or for the kids. So we spend a lot of time trying to expose ourselves and let them know who we are and what we do and how they fit into that. And again, people like Amanda on the ground is an invaluable resource. The other resource is, since I have some now, we have 4 families from Cayman who are at St. Stephen's right now. And so if a family becomes, a couple more steps closer to considering St. Stephen's, I would like them to talk to some of the parents who are here on the ground. There's no better resource than current parents who are experiencing this day in and day out. And like Amanda said, the parents from Cayman are really close to their kids. We're learning that more and more every day.
You got some type A parents here, don't you?
Well, I'm not going to, I have no comment on it.
I'll throw myself in that fire. I make no apology for it. But it's true. I mean, there's a we want the best for our kids, right? And we bust our butts every day to make sure they have the opportunities we didn't. And
Absolutely.
reality is, when it comes to education, you're quite literally molding and shaping, especially at a very crucial time frame of 13 to 17, like that, or sometimes younger.
Yeah.
Like that.
We do have some junior boarding schools coming, and I think on the younger thing, of the younger schools for the younger students, it's obviously getting those leadership skills in early as well, and they can do that in a junior boarding environment. So they perhaps, instead of changing to the high school at grade 9 to 12, they might stay for 9 at the junior boarding school and then go on. So they're more prepared, and often for those parents who are perhaps looking to some very high level schools in New England, for example, the junior boarding schools are a great resource for getting them prepared for making their applications for those high level schools and being ready to enter those schools with the academics they need, with the confidence they need, and even their sports as well.
There's a lot to take in. It is a lot, obviously, because you're talking about 40 schools coming tomorrow, trying to make a selection between that. But you had mentioned earlier, like there's over 70 schools that have come in the past.
Well, I think that's the
right?
thing, really, why I keep sort of wanting to come and talk as much as I can about it, because we're a very small island, and if you count tomorrow in the last 2 months, we'll have had over 70 boarding schools on island. And that's a lot to take in for families.
It's a lot to try to digest.
From different countries as well.
Of
So,
course.
so obviously, just want to say that we're here to help you navigate that, basically. And go to the fair and have a look at all these great places. But don't feel too overwhelmed. Just sit and read your brochures and talk about, and then come back and ask questions.
And then you can ask the questions.
Yeah.
And so we have 1 minute left in the segment. Remind our listeners again, please. Where is the fair tomorrow, and then how can they get in touch with you afterwards?
Right. Well, the fair is at the Marriott in the ballroom, Tuesday, tomorrow, at 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock. So good to get there on time, because it's a fairly short window to see a lot of schools. But they can also afterwards come to me at dormanday.ky is my website, but I'm easy to find. Admin at dormanday.ky is my email, and my phone number is 936-3676. My office is right on the waterfront next to the museum in the Quayside building, so I'm easy to find.
Miss Amanda, thank you so much. Mr. Lawrence, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Enjoy your time in Cayman, and next time you come on, we'll have to have a more in-depth football chat.
Hey, anytime. I can join the sports show.
I love it. Thank you so much, all. When we come back, we're going to a 1:30 break. When we come back, we have Amplify Cayman and Sustainable Cayman in-house to discuss the future of cruise tourism in Cayman. Back with more talk today, right after this.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
We were set to battle, and your Aunt Angie was leading the pack when...
Aunt Angie, what does this have to do with car damage?
Oh, right. Well, long story long. I took down the assassins and wound up inventing a new form of mixed martial arts. I became an international champion until one sore loser karate kicked my car. But I was covered with CG.
Covered for malicious damage and more. CG Brit Gay. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
Traffic again? What in the world is going on?
Find out by tuning in to Radio Cayman's Traffic Report, brought to you 4 times daily during rush hours following the news at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 12 noon, and 5:15 p.m. And brought to you by Subway. Need a meal on the go? Subway has 7 locations at Anderson Square, West Shore Plaza, and Industrial Park in Georgetown, Centennial Towers, West Bay, Reef Resort, East End, Countryside Shopping Village in Savannah, and in the Owen Roberts Airport Departure Lounge. No matter if you're running late, need to cater an event, or a staff meeting, Subway keeps you fueled with sandwiches, salads, pizza, wraps, and snacks. Subway, eat fresh.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And now pleased to have in studio from Amplify Cayman and Sustainable Cayman, Miss M. DeCou and Miss Laura Powery Eglishaw. I think right? Similar to last week's discussion, today is about offering a balanced discussion on cruise tourism. Last week, we had in studio the Association for Cruise Tourism, along with the Honorable Deputy Premier, Mr. Kenneth Bryan, discussing with ACT. It was discussing specifically the cruise tourism and their position that the port was a needed entity, and then Deputy Premier discussing again just an overarching conversation about tourism in general. So today is to offer a balance of this conversation, and we are pleased to have in the studio. But again, any callers or messages coming in, we do ask that this conversation stay, despite the emotive nature of the conversation, that we keep this respectful. So ladies, good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all of our wonderful callers from near and far.
Near and far. We have them online. We have them near. So the cruise tourism industry as a whole, the cruise port, Amplify Cayman and Sustainable Cayman. Can you walk through first the difference between those two groups so we know exactly who those are?
Absolutely. Admittedly, there is some overlap in terms of our overall visions for Cayman, in the sense of, Amplify Cayman speaks to empowering people to participate in their democracy when it comes to these types of issues, whether through voter registrations or campaigns that help amplify the voices of Cayman to the ears of elected officials,
sure.
As we've done in the past. Sustainable Cayman, on the other hand, is a group of phenomenal people who, like Amplify, speak to overall policies that can influence and shape a sustainable Cayman, whereas Amplify Cayman is more particular on the empowerment of people participating in shaping that policy from a democratic standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. And also that empowerment was shown in the petitioning for the 2020. Remember 2019, 2020 when we were doing the petition for the CPR thing. A lot of people were out, and there was a big, conversation about that. So I think we were more vocal then.
Yeah, because I do recall seeing more press releases back then from the Amplify Cayman side. So I'm assuming over the next few months there might be
absolutely
a little more coming out.
Absolutely.
And they also try to empower people to register to vote, don't they? So that's a big thing that young people, particularly who are the lower demographic, to please come out and register to vote. So that was a big part of their
discussion
back in the day.
And I did actually see a vote. Were you involved with the voter drive that happened? I think think it was at UCCI. I could be wrong.
We weren't as groups,
Okay.
but we very much supported that, and we do support that.
Okay.
We see that demographically, young people aren't coming out in large numbers to register to vote for whatever reason, and your vote is your voice. You have to exercise it in order for our elected officials to understand what it is that you want. It's a ongoing process, not just you just vote on election day and then 4 years later you vote again on election day based on how the 4 years were between. It's an ongoing civic duty that you have and a responsibility. So Sustainable Cayman works at a sort of, I guess you could say, macro level. I hope I'm getting that right. Whereas I would say Amplify comes in when there are major things that need to galvanize people at a micro level, but they all speak and funnel into the same vision. In the context of the question that or the topic that we're discussing today, when it comes to cruise tourism, let it be abundantly clear that we are not anti-cruise tourism, neither group.
That was actually going to be my first kind of comment is that
no,
case, but
absolutely not.
So the groups are actually in support of cruise tourism.
We are in support of sustainable tourism, however that looks. Okay. We are not anti-development. We are pro-sustainable development. Okay.
And we're for whatever is the best for Cayman and Caymanians and protecting our culture and our heritage.
Absolutely, okay. Which we see as
and environment.
As exactly like Laura said, is directly connected to the conservation of our natural resources, such as our environment. And when it comes to the discussion about cruise tourism, you're speaking to ensuring that that's a sustainable industry that we can maintain indefinitely. And the topic of how do we achieve that sustainable outcome is what really needs to be discussed more in depth, we feel. And so it's not about coming out and saying absolutely no pier as an example. It's let's pause and really think about this and figure this out and analyze the business case, which as it stands there currently is none as far as I'm aware. I'm talking about a full-on outline business case with a cost-benefit analysis. The whole 9 yards that has not been produced is up to airtime, right? And so we don't have visuals. We don't have an understanding of the damage. We have some statistics that point to, quite frankly, the volatility of the cruise industry, and which give pause for many to really consider this quite holistically.
When you say volatility, you mean the industry as a whole in the Caribbean, globally?
Well, we look to the pandemic as an example, where because of a pandemic, we weren't able to have cruise ships arrive for, 2 years? So the volatility of global disruptions, weather events, for example, it's not as though, let's say, a pier is built, they're guaranteed to come, their passengers are guaranteed to spend, no matter the weather. That's simply not the case.
So it's not so much the volatility of the actual industry itself, but external factors that could be actually affecting the industry.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. No, for a second I thought you were referring to the industry itself actually.
Right. I can't speak to that.
Okay, fair enough. And then so I kind of broke up the conversation last week into 3 different heads, and that was the economic side of it, the environmental side, and then the sustainability side. And by sustainability, I mean, you mentioned an overarching holistic, can this industry continue for the next 50, 100 years if we're making an investment of X, Y, Z magnitude? Environmental side, let's talk that one first, because that was a big part of the conversation 4 years ago, was the environmental impact of doing the port. So where is your position on this today? If it isn't any different, because for those who may not have heard the conversation 4 years ago for whatever reason, where is it?
It's no different. The environment is there. It needs to be protected. It is not dead. It's not as alive as it could be. I'll say that as a person who free dives the Georgetown Harbor sometimes twice a day if I'm lucky. It's one of my favorite spots to enjoy and unwind, and it's accessible. Watch a beautiful sunset, afterwards, and it's wonderful.
And it's also good to note too that when you see cruise ship passengers come off, a lot of times they just go right there and swim like where the fishermen are.
Sure.
They don't go far away. Some of them they just walk around town, and others might go to Turtle Farm. But it's a nice clear, very very clear area. beautiful snorkeling, and it's clearer than a lot of other places I visit. So they just stay there around the port area, and we need to protect that. Dredging or doing the port proposal, that it depends on the port proposal as well, right? So if you're talking about something, a single port or whatever, it's different from a huge land reclamation that was considered before. So that's a different discussion now for today. But the tourists just want to come, have a good time, swim, see the water, see the people, local things. And in the past, they weren't doing that. They were stuck in traffic. They weren't getting anywhere. There's no shade trees when they come off the cruise ship side, that they stand in line for a long time and they go back on. There's nothing there for them to sit in the shade when it's raining or if it's hot. And they just want to see Cayman as an island that they remember coming to in the past, or as an island as it should be. Not a city.
But with regards to that building that port itself, the environmental damage that you're concerned about,
Well,
potential out.
if we think about it as what do tourists come to see, but not our environment, it's going to remove what they come to see from that perspective. You know, not everybody
in
comes.
One area, right?
Yeah, no, not well.
Sure.
It could have secondary effects on the 7 Mile Beach, as an example. We're still, again, there's still so many unknowns, but then there is also science to support that could be an outcome. So not everybody gets off the ship and their focus is on, say, duty-free shopping or right. It's
no, of course.
Some people, you're in the Caribbean and it might be biased, but you're in the most beautiful country in the Caribbean.
You know,
I mean, I don't want to brag, but
I support it.
They want to chill. They want to relax on the
Exactly.
beach.
Because
Exactly.
They're on holiday.
Everyone has different reasons.
Exactly.
But yeah, some do have to want to chill out and relax on the beach. And
Yeah, and people speak to how safe it is and how nice people are when they encounter local people when they come off the ships, and how you can just 15-minute walk from once you get out of the port. You can walk to Eden Rock and go snorkeling, and it's accessible for kids and the elderly, and it's supporting those businesses as well.
Sure.
So the pier being built would cause a lot of sand and silt to occur, which would smother the corals that the people are coming to see, as well as decimate the visibility of the harbor.
Would that be a permanent damage scenario if that silt does?
Once coral dies, it takes tens of hundreds
so
of
the coral
thousands
would,
of years.
So the argument is that the coral will actually die.
It's an animal, and it needs sunlight, it needs water, it needs filtration. And even despite the anchorage zone that exists, the pier being built, cruise ships don't have to drop their anchors. Currently, they are not mostly dropping their anchors. They are just coasting on their engines and their thrusters, so that's good. It is, what I will say is it's extremely loud underwater as a snorkeler or as a freediver or as a diver.
I've heard it, yeah, I've been out there.
When there's a ship in port, it literally feels like it's right above you, despite being however far away, half a mile away. And I personally recognize that the health of the reef was impacted positively when we did not have cruise ships in port as frequently as we were. The fish numbers returned, coral health bounced. I mean, there was, and then return of cruise ships. I mean, I don't want to say it's directly correlated, but it's it's hard to not see the connection. Corals were dying, bleaching, and being affected by different diseases. And not to say that that's killed everything out there, but it's a different reef than it was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and people can look up and research on YouTube all the different things that cruise ships, negatives and positives, right?
Sure, I mean,
and on the environment.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that the cruise ships are like the perfect environment. I was just trying to get the synopsis of like what the environmental damage would be as a result of.
And just to clarify as well, and add to this, once coral is dead, it can no longer really protect us during a storm. It is our first line of defense in a nor'wester or a hurricane. The second being seagrass beds, the third being mangrove wetlands. So to smother the coral, you will kill it. You will soften it. It will not break away brittly like a piece of chalk initially, but over time, I mean, if you can't put a piece of chalk against a wave and expect it to hold up.
Yeah.
So another thing to consider.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, let's go on a quick pause. Let's go to a commercial break. When we come back, Miss Laura will come right over to you. Back to More Talk Today right after this.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just the delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Did you know that 12.5% of Cayman residents are current smokers? In fact, this is significantly higher among men at 18% than women at 6.7%. Tobacco use, alcohol consumption, daily activity, and diet are all things which we can change that can significantly impact our health. The Ministry of Health and Wellness wants to empower you with information that can change your life. To learn more, log on to www.gov.ky/steps or follow us on Facebook. Let's step into wellness together, Cayman.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
And welcome back to Talk Today. I am Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Pleased to have in studio from Amplify Cayman and Sustainable Cayman, Miss M. Deku and Miss Laura Powery Eglishaw, here discussing the balancing side of the conversation we had last week about cruise tourism in the Cayman Islands. Miss Laura, before the break, I had to cut you off to go to the break, but we were discussing, actually, we talked about two different things during the break itself. So let me put it back to you and what you were discussing before the break, before I bring up the 8 locations conversation.
Right. Well, I'm not sure what I was going to say back then, but I do want to.
The same boat.
I do want to mention before we talk about the locations, something that people may not know about or have forgotten about is Cayman's obligation. What we had said we would do, Environment Charter it's called. This is signed. I don't know if you can see it, but it was signed by Mr. Makiba Bush and Valerie Amos, I think, back in the day. And it's a pledge Cayman to protect the environment. And I won't read it all. Maybe during the course we can show it more. But number 1 was to recognize that all people need a healthy environment for their well-being and livelihoods, and that all can help to conserve and sustain it. And number 10 was to study and celebrate our environmental heritage as a treasure to share with our children. Now, we need to have some sort of environment to be able to share with our children. We can't just go ahead without any environmental impact assessments and do something that maybe some development or some government decides they think is a good idea. It has to be thought out carefully. So we just want to remind people about this charter that was signed And there are other notes at the back that we can read out throughout the show
Sure.
about what Cayman pledged to do.
And what year was this then?
It's 2001, if I'm not
2001.
Yes, yes, 2001.
And
So, yeah.
our Constitution also speaks to the protection of the environment in Section 18. And Section 17 speaks to children's rights. So they're right after each other. It's how I personally like to frame how I lead, and how the groups move forward is with, our future generations and our environment in mind. And it's important to understand the reciprocal nature of protecting our environment protects our economy. It protects livelihoods. It really is not the other way around. So
Sure.
it's not that, the quote unquote tree huggers. I detest that term, and but you know what? Go out and hug a tree. It's nice. Protecting trees not only protects our economy and our livelihoods, it protects our culture, our heritage, and it is the resource that protects us in our natural events. It protects us year round, and it asks for only one thing in return, which is that we protect it.
So, I'm very much pro-environment. I'm also pro-business. Like I do share both hats, right? When I have these conversations with my son about, like, from his eyes, not having had to enter the economic world just yet. He's still a child. The environment is what looks big. When you become an adult, we grow up, we start looking at both hats, right? We start going, hold on, how do we balance this conversation? So, to turn this conversation now from the environment for a second to the economic side, when we had the gentleman in the studio last week and Deputy Premier last week, the conversation was about the gross reduction right now in cruise tourism numbers. And the reason that was given was because the cruise lines are building larger ships. Cayman is not making the dock list for many of those lists, and the number of ships coming to Cayman has reduced. And that the forecast, I'm just going to use the numbers that was given out in the ESO report, is that after next year, the number of cruise ships is supposed to, cruise calls is supposed to decline by 5.2% year on and compounded going forward. That's the projected number for the economic side of this conversation of how many cruise ships are coming in. From an observer standpoint, because I drive the roads in town quite often for what I do for work, I have seen myself just the numbers down. So how do we balance the economic side of this conversation with the environment side if the cruise ships are saying, we're not coming if you don't build the piers?
Where is that in writing?
Yeah.
Because that's a very hypothetical statement right now that the cruise ships will not come unless a pier is built. If you like, you know what I'm saying? So
they've always been coming without a pier.
And
so that was a conversation that was had last week.
Yeah.
The conversation from the Deputy Premier when he was in the studio was that when they attended the conferences and they've met with these.
And that's fair, and I've heard that.
Yep.
But I don't there's no guarantees in writing that have been shown that a cruise line has said, as far as I'm aware, we will not port call on Cayman if there is not a pier after we invest in these new vessels, larger vessels. So it's
it's not a factual statement.
There's a word for that.
So what happens if they do come out and say that?
Put it in writing.
No, but once that happens, then what? Then where does the conversation go?
That's a different conversation. But that being said,
okay, because right now they're just using the numbers of the calls that are being made right now, and again, I'm not.
There are other arguments for the pier as well. But there are also counter arguments, and as it stands, the larger vessels that are being constructed are being viewed by passengers as the destination, not necessarily the destinations that they're going to. So more passengers are staying on board because the vessel is more attractive for whatever reason. I don't do cruise ships personally. They don't have an appeal to me, but they're not spending because they can get food packages on board, so they don't necessarily have to buy lunch when they come ashore. They're not incentivized to spend on shore. The attractions that they would have come to see, there's several notable ones that have disappeared post-pandemic. Royal Palms, Calico Jacks, Sandmile Beach is eroding. Atlantic Submarine unfortunately didn't make it, and these are attractions that they come ashore to visit, but they're no longer there. And let me just reiterate that neither of us is against tourism being sustainable or cruise tourism not being sustainable. We are not about Caymanians being out of jobs. Please, let's make that abundantly clear. It's about striking the balance that we have investments that stand the test of time. So perhaps investing in stay-over tourism, which has been shown throughout the region as being a more valuable investment. In nations that have invested more in mass tourism through cruises have seen that it's not as positively impacted locals. I have a case personally that I am aware of in St. Martin where that's not actually a fair case to compare us to St. Martin. It has not had the positive impact on native St. Martin people as the cruise lines were,
What do you know what would have caused them? So the money went up, but the money just didn't go into the hands of.
Again, the vessels themselves are being seen more as the destination. It's expensive. The cost of everything has gone up post-pandemic. So the incentives to come ashore are not as robust as they would have been in years past. So investments, I think, if we're investing in tourism, we should invest in attractions and infrastructure that benefits everybody and tourism as a whole versus just one small sector. So let's say an airport upgrades, jetways, for every passenger and every resident who travels. That's an investment that benefits everybody versus a smaller portion of the population.
Okay. And then what when you say investment in, is it just the airport or are there other?
That's a suggestion. That's
fair
a
enough.
suggestion.
Okay.
Diversifying our tourism product to where it's culturally relevant and it's unique, and we have some incredible unique experiences that people can enjoy. The argument's made that people don't have the time to enjoy those. The time isn't going to be increased because a pier is being built. The length of the pier is the distance the tenders travel currently, the proposed pier back in the day.
You would have to walk it. It would probably take longer.
Thank you. Like, you'd have to walk the distance that the tender takes. So if the tender takes approximately 20 minutes each way, takes you about... sorry, I lie. Take that back. It takes about 20 minutes to load and unload. It only takes about 5 minutes to travel from the ship to shore. So you're talking, if you're the first person on, it's about 40 minutes. If you're the last person on, maybe 6 minutes that you're on the tender. You can't make that you cannot walk from the vessel to shore on a pier in less than 6 minutes. Not even, I don't think, maybe Usain Bolt could, but you see what I'm saying? So
No, I get it. I'm
in terms of the time that is being said would be saved, it's arguable.
Okay. On that note, let's go to our 2 p.m. headline news. When we come back, we do have one caller on the line. Say back to Paul, headline news.
Radio station. Radio Cayman is the voice of the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market.
With a look at your latest headlines, I'm Jevi Ebanks. 2 local men were jailed last week for possessing illegal modified firearms and significant quantities of drugs. J. Calvert Ebanks received 8 years and 9 months for possessing a fully automatic pistol and over 10 ounces of cocaine found in his vehicle. Mitchell Chian Ebanks was sentenced to 9 years for possessing a 9mm submachine gun with an auto-sear and 11 ounces of cocaine found at his home. In regional news, Darren Lee, a dual citizen of China and St. Kitts and Nevis, has pled guilty to money laundering for his role in a scheme that funneled over $73 million from cryptocurrencies investment scams through shell companies and international bank accounts. Despite operating outside the U.S., Lee was arrested at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. His trial revealed that he conspired with others to launder funds using encrypted messaging services and directed co-conspirators to manage funds through U.S. bank accounts. Lee is scheduled for sentencing on the 3rd of March and faces up to 20 years in prison. BVI Premier and Minister of Finance Dr. Natalia Wheatley announced that educators in the British Virgin Islands now rank among the highest paid in the region. The starting salary for qualified teachers in BVI is US $55,146 per year. surpassing the US $50,974 starting salary in the United States Virgin Islands. This adjustment aims to attract and retain talented educators, addressing concerns raised by Minister of Education, Cher de Castro, about high resignation rates among teachers. De Castro emphasized that competitive pay reduces turnover and improves education quality, allowing teachers to focus on their roles without needing additional jobs. That is your latest headlines. I'm Jevi Ebanks.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News. 36 world finalists from 12 countries, 3 winning teams, and 1 global competition. It's the 2024 Young Chef, Young Waiter, Young Mixologist World Finals. This November 22nd to 24th in Singapore, and the Cayman Islands is in the finals. Cayman's Young Chef Champion, Brittany Bodden, Young Waiter Champion, Steph McDermott, and Young Mixologist Champion, Cody Wright, will be competing for the ultimate prize of $15,000. Join us in cheering on our young professionals, tomorrow's leaders in hospitality and service, as they represent the Cayman Islands on the world stage. Supported by the Ministry of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport, and Development.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Just about 30 minutes left and 25 minutes left in our show today. And pleased to have in studio from Amplify Cayman and Sustainable Cayman, Miss Ebna Koo and Miss Laura Powery Eglishaw, here discussing the other side of the conversation regarding cruise tourism and the cruise port. We do have one caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Thanks for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
And good afternoon to your guest.
Hi, good afternoon.
Just want to make a couple of comments on discussion that you're on. Number one is I am totally against the pier for the cruise ships. And when I finish, I'll hang up in case you all would like to comment on any of what I have to say. Anyway, I'm totally against the cruise berthing because the only people that will benefit will be the cruise ship CEOs. That's the only people that will benefit. Another thing is that where is the money going to come from to build the cruise berthing? And another thing is that the 7 Mile Beach, have you all noticed that the mess that is in? Mm. You know, we gave these people everything that they wanted when they came to build these hotels. And you see the mess they're in today. Who's going to fix it? Who's going to pay for that? And then you want to go and give the cruise berthing people everything they want again, and they're the one that is going to benefit from that. I mean, when are we going to come to our senses and realize that these people are not doing anything good for this country? It's all about themselves. And until we wake up, they're going to just keep doing it to us. And it's really disgusting what is happening in this country. And who can sit down and say that everything is okay? Something is definitely wrong with them, because it's all wrong what is happening in this country. I would like to know who is going to pay for the cruise berthing pier, and who is going to fix 7 Mile Beach. So if you all have any answers to these questions, I'll hang up and see and listen to you. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you so much, caller. If I can just make a quick comment, I did have the Deputy Premier in studio last week, and he was talking about the sand replenishment project right now, which they're currently in discussions between a private sector, public sector partnership to kind of get that back up in the ground and to get the sand replenished somehow there and establish I don't want to quote exactly what he said, but it's something along the lines of looking at a 10-year plan where every 10 years, this is something that is taken into account of a fund that's able to, through the increase in tourism taxes, to help raise the fund to help be able to do this every 10 years. So knowing that the reality is sand is going to continue to move, whether we put it back there or not, that this might become a long-term initiative. So I can comment on that just based on the conversation we had last week. As regards to who's paying for it, right now we're still in the very early stage of this conversation. Again, it's going to a referendum next year, April 30th. So I believe from that standpoint, then the conversation would start. First, the conversation is, does the community want this? And if the community does, then the next step is the outline business case and the financing, etc. Over to you.
I mean, I feel like that should come before, but that's just from the perspective of somebody who worked in the financial services industry at one point. To the caller's point, thank you for everything that you said, and I will say that I do concur with it. That's from my personal perspective. I won't speak on behalf of the organizations. It does speak to the fact that there are still so many what ifs. Who is paying for this? Who's going to be investing in? Who's going to be benefiting from this investment? Majority. And you're right. The state of the beaches we've seen recently, not only the erosion but just the pollution. Like, people just leave their litter around, and it's terrible. You visit the shores of another country and you just leave it in a worse state than you found it. That's not humankind. And something that comes to my mind is that we have to be really careful, because as the saying came on, sometimes you got more dollars than cents, and we have to be careful that we're not thinking this through fully, comprehensively, and really seeing the cost benefit analysis of such major capital project.
And also, people, for the referendum, there's so much that people don't know, the general public. We don't really know what this referendum, what the government's referendum, that is not the people's initiative, which is the one that should have happened. This is a government initiated one. People are not really aware of what their plan is. There's not much information out there to the general public. What are people actually voting for when they go to vote? Do they have any idea what they'll be signing up for? There's so much more information that needs to be discussed in the public. For people, to be able to go and say, okay, fine, I'm very happy with what I've heard the government say and what they're going to do, and that's the plan and that's a fact, and so I'll vote, yes or no. But we don't have any of that. So a lot of people are thinking, okay, well, this is going to happen in an election, but we don't know what we're voting for.
Sure. I can appreciate that, because there isn't a whole robust case that's been done. I can appreciate that coming to, and I go back because the conversation just happened last Friday. Following the Cayman Islands Tourism Association speech, along with the Chamber of Commerce speech, which we aired live here on Radio Cayman, and the conversation that was with the Deputy Premier was, one, is establishing, because it's happening at the change of a government, right? It's going to happen on election day. We're going to have this conversation, the vote of whether we do or do not. And then the next government that comes in has to now wrestle with the conversation of, they said yes, what do we do? They said no, what do we do? And that was the conversation. So I appreciate the concern, like, we don't have all the information. From my understanding, but this is about the simple question of, do we want it? Do we not want it? Well, I appreciate the conversation.
But we need to know
large.
why we would want it and why we wouldn't want it
Well,
as well. For
that's what
example, we've
bringing.
always had cruise ships coming in without the pier, and the passengers probably don't mind coming on the tender. It's a nice little boat ride to coming in. It's clear crystal water, and it's a fun ride. A lot of them pay to go back out in the boats, right? You've got to Stingray sit in different places. So we need to know what the passengers are saying, not some disinformation that's coming from someone else. We need to know the facts about what the cruise ship passengers want. So if we build this pier and cruise ship passengers don't really want it themselves, and they find that, okay, now we're having bigger cruise ships come in, or more cruise ships come in, they can't even get off the pier because there's so many people lined up, they can't even get where they want to go because so many buses and so many cars on the road. That's not what they want either. So we really need the facts of what the government is proposing. Are they proposing one pier, single pier, more? How many ships are going to come in? Small ships, big ships? It would be nice to have all these facts so we can make an informed decision when it comes time for the referendum.
Right, and to speak about, to principle of informed consent, that also comes with the right to refuse. So the referendum needs to be well shaped, and it's much deeper than just a yes or no question. That one answer dictates other investments in our islands. That could determine whether we invest more in beach renourishment. If the people say we don't want the cruise berthing facility, does that take away from the argument to renourish the beach? Does that then automatically translate, to investments elsewhere with the same money that would have been spent on the pier? We don't know. The referendum question, I don't think, is very well articulated as it currently stands, and I think that needs to be shaped more before the people can really weigh in.
What would you like to see that question be?
Just be more defined, and I think we're putting the cart before the horse by asking this question without giving the people, like I said, some form of outline business case of what we're saying yes or no to.
What if it was going based off what was suggested previously as a thought process to guide the conversation?
That was not much information given on that one either, because there's a lot of speculation about how much land reclamation would need, 23 acres of dredging. So, yeah, there wasn't much information. A lot of people didn't know what they were signing up for in that one either. And again, it doesn't do anyone justice to have this information. If they're going to put ads out and market it, it needs to be factual. How much is it going to cost us, the government? How much is it going to cost to build this pier or piers? We need the actual facts so we can make a educated, decision on whether we want it or not. We the people.
Right. It's all about balance. As much investment as there is for it, there needs to be as much investment to ensure that this is the right decision. And again, it's a let me reiterate, none of us are against taking away jobs from Caymanians or Caymanians benefiting from a tourism product. It's about a sustainable investment that will withstand hurricanes, it'll withstand nor'westers, it'll withstand global pandemics and supply chain shortages and goods increasing. That our islands were built on resourcefulness, and this does not seem resourceful use of innovation and investment.
Okay.
Considering the value of the environment being conserved in comparison.
Okay, so when you put the environment in the conversation, like there are those three hats, right? There is the economics, there's the environment, and can we sustain the actual industry as a whole? That sustainability, as you mentioned, there are external factors which kick in. Very difficult to try to combat another COVID decision, right? But that should be considered at some point. Like, what do we do in the worst case scenario? Something happens, what happens? What do we do? That's that sustainable conversation. The environment conversation, we had briefly touched upon during a break that I believe we said in 1964 there were other sites which have been possibly considered.
When the new port was considered.
Of the 8, I believe we said?
There were 8 locations that were...
that the current port
that
site
looked at the time. For the new port, yes. Which was meaning they had a port already.
They had a port, yes. Correct.
Yeah, sort of a humble port.
Yes. And this one was considered to be the most...
This is specifically a proper
appropriate location. And then there's the economic side, right? And the only data I have on the economic side is because we don't have the outline business case. We don't have the cost factor in there. It's just the data from the ESO, and this was brought out from the our ESO office, and that was about the reduction in cruise numbers since over the past several years, and the projected reduction over the coming years. And that's the only data I have on the economic side. That was strictly just from our ESO office. However, on that note, let's go to a quick commercial break, and we come back. We do have another caller on the line.
Sounds
back with more talk today, right after this.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean. providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walker's Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walker's Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Again, pleased to have in studio from Amplify Cayman and Sustainable Cayman, Miss M. Deku and Mrs. Laura Powery Eglishaw. Here discussing the cruise port. Now, we do have one caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Yeah, hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, well, this is Elio Solomon, and I'm calling in on behalf of ACT. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I know those two young ladies in the studio.
Hello.
Yeah, hi to both of you. To Mr. Cow and Ms. Power. I just first of all, it was very enlightening to hear the conversation. I've been listening attentively. I would stress as well that the ACT has reached out to Sustainable Cayman and look forward to meeting with them. In fact, we were supposed to meet today, and it was postponed. So we're actually hoping that meeting will take place. I've often wondered about the information or misinformation that's put out in the public, and I'd just like to say respectfully to the two guests there that I think a sit down would be very appropriate because there's a lot of misinformation that needs to be cleared up, and not necessarily sure that we can clear it all up in a couple of minutes. But let me just say a couple of things. One of the things that was mentioned, for example, was that cruise ships, for example, don't drop anchors. Well, they do drop anchors. I was out the harbor just a few days ago, and they still drop anchors, and they've been dropping anchors since I was a kid. Let me give you a little bit of a background. When I was as young as 10, 11, 12 years old, I used to actually go and work on the tenders. It was one of the ways that I actually was able to make lunch money and actually pay for my lunch at school, especially coming up from some very humble beginnings. And I'll give you just that as one example when we say who is impacted by cruise tourism. I'm no longer directly impacted by cruise tourism, but I am indirectly. So as a young man who even used to make his lunch money working on the tenders, I can assure you that cruise tourism has always been very beneficial to the country, and I see it as something that we need in the future. So we do drop anchors, and to say that we don't drop anchors is an error. And I note with interest that the members don't actually say anything, for example, specifically about the cruise tourism in its present state. It seems to only be focused on the piers. But if we actually look at the present situation, what do we have? I used to go early morning with Captain Scott, the late Captain Scott. He's dead now. But they would drop anchors every morning. And that's a Russian roulette. It's recently recorded. It's on YouTube. You can look it up for yourself. while we're looking at all the negatives of cruise tourism, this is one of them you can add to it. On the issue of anchors, it was over 16,000 square feet of coral or rock that was damaged as a result of the cruise tourism, as it is in its present state. And I mentioned that, and I think maybe Ms. DeCoe might be too young, but Ms. Power would probably remember when one of the ships got caught up on the reef.
Rhapsody,
yeah. I was in school, and it stayed there for definitely around a week until the ocean decided to let her go. So there's a lot of damage that takes place in its present state. So when I don't hear the present state being addressed, that's concern. And why is the present state having to be addressed? Because whether we're talking about dropping anchors, whether we're talking about the Russian roulette and the significant damage that's being done to whatever the environment that we're concerned about, that is all important. The long lines of weight, all those are important to understand why we need piers, right? So just to continue on, addressing some of this, I think Mr. Kaur, one of them mentioned that there was an issue of not having it in writing that the cruise ships would not be coming. There was a Stoic conference put on by the minister just a few days ago. He served as the chairman or president for that organization regionally, did an excellent job, brought the conference here. There was someone there from the cruise tourism which put it out very clearly that the cruise ships are going to have to stop coming. So, and this is a reality because just like how we have advances, and let me just give some simplistic examples to make sure that everybody understands. When I was younger, I had to go next door to my grandmother's house to make a call. And that was the phone that you literally hung up on people. You had a rotary dial. Well, that no longer exists. We have cell phones today that everybody carries on our hip. Those are advances of technology. It comes with pros and it comes with cons. There's nothing different in terms of the cruise tourism. There have been a lot of smaller boats that have served Cayman very well for years, served the cruise industry very well, but they're moving now to larger ships, not 3,000 passengers, but maybe 7,000 plus. It is just simply a case that one, even in terms of the practicability of actually having tenders go to it, is not possible. And the whole issue of the queuing is not possible. So when Ms. DeCoe, for example, talks about the fact that you're able to get on a tender and get off of the tender in a short period of time, what that is not accounting for is the horrendously long lines that's taking place on the cruise ship. People waiting an hour or 2 hours on the cruise ship before they get to that door that she's talking about that takes about 5 minutes. And I can also attest, as a young person who actually used to work on the tenders, there's significant risk that comes with those tenders, both in terms of boarding and onboarding or offboarding. And so let me give you an example. I remember very distinctly being on the tenders one day, and whether it was the wave action or a premature departure of the tender, one of the lines burst, and it went straight from the back of the tender to the front and took a big, huge chunk out of the wood. I can tell you that it was the grace of God that someone was not hit with that particular piece of rope or wire, or they would either have lost their life or probably praying that they lose it. So there's a lot of risk that comes. There's people who potentially can fall, and I encourage anyone to actually, I think Mr. Cole, for example, mentioned that she didn't really actually go on a cruise ship. I encourage her and other persons who are interested, and ACT intends to be able to educate persons about the cruise industry, because there is a lot of misinformation, sometimes legitimate. It's not that they're deliberately spreading it, but there's misinformation nevertheless, and we want to engage in that educational campaign that I think the two ladies spoke to, so that we can clear some of that up. But if you go there, you're going to be able to see the situation that
Excuse me, Mr. Solomon, we don't have much time, and I hear your points, and thank you for calling. Yeah, right.
Did you have any? No, Mr. Solomon. Did you have any final points? Miss Emily is correct. We are wrapping up the show, but do you have any one more point you can put out there, very briefly, before we put out the ladies?
Do you have any questions, sir?
No, I don't have any questions. But the other thing I was going to say is, you talked about we should invest in still over tourism, but at the same time, when the caller called about the beaches, you made a different argument about that. Well, let me just say that cruise tourism is something that is giving $250 to $300 million to this economy, directly employing thousands of Caymanians. who have a legitimate opportunity to make a living.
And none of us are
And
here trying to take that away from them.
And I am also an environmentalist. I love to hug trees, literally sometimes as well. And I have my farm, and I enjoy going there. But when it comes to the environment, I would like to encourage you and everyone else in this country to understand that human beings are actually a part of the environment.
You're preaching to the choir, sir.
We're not just some parts, that we are a part of it, and that's important to mention, right?
Solomon,
and you talk about the cost. That again is something that the public should be
All right, Mr. Solomon, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. We do want to let the ladies have the final say here, but absolutely, your points are well taken here, and I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
I'd just like to say one thing. I'm not sure. I know I didn't mention about the cruise ships didn't have anchor, because we know they anchor. I don't think any of us said that, so I'm not sure who. But because we have had damage done by cruise ship anchorings before, and that was one of the things that environmental people back then in the 90s, the more active ones, were very concerned about, because everyone was calling for permanent moorings back then, and there was money for it in the Department of Environment, I think some fund, or Ministry of Environment rather, and it was not used for permanent moorings. It should have been done by government, and it wasn't back then. So we all know that the cruise ships anchors can damage, and that was one of the things that should have been addressed a long time ago. So he was right about that. That's definitely a thing, but that can be easily that's a solution that can be easily fixed by having permanent moorings as well. You don't have to have a pier. But also, I think, like he used the word misinformation, a lot of people out there who, work with the cruise ship think that if we don't have this pier, they won't have a job. But the cruise ship industry will always come here if the cruise ship passengers want to come here. It depends on what agreement is made, maybe with the government and the cruise ship industry. Maybe that's what's stopping a lot of things. But if people want to come, they'll find a way to come, whether it's on a cruise ship or by sea. So I think putting fear into people and saying, oh, well, you won't have a job if we don't have this pier because cruise ship passengers won't come back, or cruise ships won't come back. I don't think that's correct, and that's not fair.
Agreed.
So we need the truth and the facts out there to people who are feeling like that and not getting the right information. And it's doing everyone an injustice not to state the facts, and not to state how much money we do make from stay over and how little we make from cruise ship passengers as well. So all of those facts should be out there for everyone to see.
Ms. Emily, any final points?
Absolutely. Thank you for the floor. It's not that we're looking for negatives. It's just that we're struggling to find positives for a pier, for the argument for the pier. It's not that we're only focusing on piers. We're focusing on this as a holistic industry that needs to have holistic solutions to address any issues that arise. And I'm struggling to find evidence that this is a valuable investment in the cruise ship industry. And by the way, the tender companies, they're Caymanian, and they employ Caymanians, and they pay them very well. So, if they have to retool themselves, say we build a pier, why is that not the same case for other persons in the cruise industry to adapt equally for not building a pier? And of course. There are better, like I said earlier, there seem to be better investments that could be made in the overall country. We have so many crises on our hands that it's almost insulting to be focusing so heavily on something like this when people are literally going hungry. Children are going to school hungry, if they can afford to go to school. If their parents can afford to send them, even to public schools, can be a struggle for some families. So it's not that we're anti-tourism or not protecting the environment or any of that. Like, we are for the economy. It's just about making sure that it is invested in sustainably.
And also, growing up here, like the older, our grandparents, they understood that the cruise tourism was a pillar of our, was a big pillar. So they would always have people come to the houses or do things, and that's part of the Cayman culture, is inviting people who come, whether it's cruise or overstay as well. So hospitality is a big part of Cayman. We all need that, but we'd like to see more local people in hospitality as well. So
that's a very fair point, and another part of that conversation as well.
Absolutely.
Ladies, thank you so much. We are out of time in today's show. I know this is a big conversation. I do want to extend appreciation to you for coming in. The gentleman last week, the Deputy Premier, Mr. Solomon, called in. I think some very fair points were made on both sides of this conversation. I do like that he has offered, that the ACT has offered or asked about possibly sitting down with Steel and that's something I think should happen. I think that conversation is a very good start.
That meeting will happen. It did have to just be postponed today. it's just a matter of the timing, but that meeting is going to happen.
And I'm glad to hear that because I think.
And please remind everyone to read the environmental charter.
And where can they find a copy of that?
This is very easily findable online.
Yeah, I think if you just
Safari, Charter
Google.
of the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. On that note, again, thank you again to our callers who called in and the fair points made on both sides. I appreciate this as a mode of conversation. I think just continuing this dialogue and with all stakeholders at the table, especially two groups who are most vocal about it, is a good starting point.
And we represent not just our own personal views. Like, we don't want our mouths to hear ourselves talk, right? We are representing the community who are vocally in opposition of not getting this the right way.
And there are a lot of grassroots people who work in the cruise industry and taxi drivers, but they don't want to see the environment, damaged or a decision made that we're going to all regret 10 years down the line.
Absolutely. So thank you again for coming in today. I appreciate it, again, yourselves, last week's guests, the Deputy Premier, and the callers that called in today with their points.
Thank you, Ray.
On that note, we do need to call it a wrap for today's show. Thank you again to all of our loyal listeners out there in Radio Cayman Nation, to the Cool Out team, Dorman Day, as well as FI Cayman, Sustainable Cayman, and all of our callers today. On behalf of the entire, and to Mr. Paulo Cal for holding down the fort. On behalf of the entire Radio Cayman family, have a very happy Monday. I'm Raymond Singh, and God bless.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors